And we are live. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. The drama continues. The drama is still on. And so, here's why the. Okay, so if you're new to the stream, new to the channel, I've been covering the story, and welcome to the channel. I've been covering the story of Unusually Bree, who is a therapist who was contracted with a certain company. But after she posted something on TikTok that was referencing black men, people wrote articles which gave her full government name and her place of employment, and people called her job, and she was fired. These are the things that happened, and so now she's fired. She's out of her job, but the drama continues. Here's why the drama continues: because you've got people on Twitter still trying to defend, and not just like they're actually like doing these rounds, the circuits, as if they're right. They're doing this circuit as if they were in the right and she's wrong, and what they did is justified, and they're the heroes in this situation. Welcome to the stream, Loner, cruising with the wind. People who say she's bassing and spreading lies about are absolute clowns. That exactly. They are absolute clowns. Um, okay, so John Henry Irons. Interesting. Nice name. Her delivery was horrible. She's a horrible person who I definitely wouldn't seek therapy from. Wow, I find that interesting that you know her so well. Okay, I was going to assume that you know her from TikTok, but maybe you don't. Maybe you know her personally, and that's what you're basing this opinion on. I mean, correct me. Is that how you know her, John Henry Irons? Please let me know how you know. If you know her because you know her in real life and you've dealt with her, in personal setting and in a therapeutic session, feel free to let me know anytime. Anytime you're ready, you can let me know how exactly you know her. Okay, so while we wait for you to provide that commentary, um, provide that insight to us, we'll continue. Um, Her delivery could have been a lot better, but she told no lies and was not hating on black men. So here's the thing. Here's my issue with her delivery. It's TikTok. She's engaging in content creation. What we have to realize is when you're doing content creation, there's a way to have a conversation, a regular conversation with somebody, and then there's a different way on which you have to where you present things on social media. So, and different apps, different social media platforms have different languages, so to speak. And so TikTok has a very, it's a very lighthearted atmosphere. And I get my personal assessment is that her presentation was because she's on TikTok and she's like, okay, how do I make this entertaining for people who are coming to TikTok and still drop some jewels? Okay, John Henry Irons is back. Your argument of other clients not complaining is credible, but that doesn't change her horrendous delivery. Did you miss her calling black men motherfuckers? Oh fuck. Okay, 4 minutes in. I'm good. I'm good. 4 minutes in. Good. Oh, okay. So now, what's interesting is there doesn't seem to be this much energy around the N word, but suddenly, people are just horrified and appalled that she used the word motherfucker. Like, yo, for real? Like, you're like if people tell me this, I'm be like, I'm gonna start laughing, and I'm gonna stop. Like, wait, you're serious? Like, y'all being serious? Like, suddenly, you're like that word offends y'all? Really? Because, like, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, y'all don't curse. Because y'all must be like ultra religious and y'all don't curse, and so that's why that word offends you. Yeah, because like I don't curse around my mama. Cool. So I get it. But if y'all do curse, if y'all watch R-rated movies with if y'all watch Samuel Jackson movies, mother, like come on, like please, like y'all gotta come better than she said motherfucker, because here's what she did. She was so in fact, and somebody else posted, I'll put something up they had put up today. Somebody else posted on Twitter about her speaking pejoratively. And if you're not familiar, the word pejoratively means to speak negatively and down, and to insult to somebody. And I'm like, no. Why do we assume that she's speaking pejoratively as opposed to speaking colloquially? And colloquially just means she's speaking informally. She's speaking in slang, AAVE. You know, like African American vernacular. Like just she's being herself, speaking the language of the people. Like how do we automatically assume, oh no, she's using it in a negative connotation rather than just slang? Just okay, yeah, we're just shooting the shit. Like how do we get to that? Hey, welcome, Just Kenny. What's up, man? Her tone was off, but her message was on point. Thank you, Kenny. But I'm looking at this and saying, because people are saying, okay, so she shouldn't have cursed. Like, did you hear like when she's calling, she says, you know, you're sad motherfuckers. Cool. People think that she's insulting black men. When I'm like, my first instinct is, huh, I wonder if the majority or large number of her clients are from the streets or in correctional settings or somewhere in the criminal justice system. Because if you come to a person who who's from the hood, and you're trying to tell them that they need to express their emotions, coming with some lovey-dovey nonsense is not gonna get the response you think it's gonna get. Like if you're talking to somebody from the street, from the hood, about getting emotional, like being emotionally available, like you gotta be blunt with it, because it already feels. And I'm going to speak from my perspective. I'm going to speak from my perspective because when I saw her video, I had flashbacks to when my therapist, while I was incarcerated, told me that she wants me to write a journal and to write my emotions in the journal. And my response was, a journal? I'm not a little girl. That's my response. Because I'm like, I'm not writing a journal, and I'm not talking about my feelings. I'm a grown motherfucking man. And so if she has dealt with that response, because that's from where I'm from, that's our natural response to you have to express your emotions. So if she's met with this response, now she automatically knows, okay, I can't come with the and your feelings will help the world and it'll relieve the trauma, as opposed to like, come on motherfuckers, you got feelings too. We all got feelings. It's who her intended audience is. If she thinks she's talking to people who will react better to a blunt delivery, that's my initial analysis. That's my initial thought. Because quite frankly, I looked at her delivery and I was like, okay, cool. Like I laughed at it because I could imagine me sitting across and her breaking it down like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do a journal. I'll try it. I'll give it a try. I'll give it a shot. Point blank, because it's just that delivery just seems, if you're trying to tell a man about emotionality, speaking in a certain way is going to make it feel lame. So that was my thought. But even if she's not speaking to dudes that are from the street, even if she's just speaking to to regular cats out there, yes, she's using strong language, she's cursing, she's on TikTok. She's on TikTok. Like social media, we've already established, has its own language. Okay, so let me take a look at some of these comments. Okay, delivery is horrible. Kenny, okay. If she wants to enter the sphere of Kevin Samuels, then I wouldn't complain. But as a licensed professional, she's way out of line. Would you be? I'm guessing you wrote that before I told my story. I'm guessing you wrote that before I told my story. Because let me tell you something. I've been through a lot of therapists, decades of dealing with therapists, and the therapists that I like the least are the ones that are prissy and okay, I this like the pretentiousness I don't really have time for. I don't have the patience for. So like one therapist who we're going in for a session and we encounter another doctor that I know and he's joking with me, but he jokes about some stuff from my past and she's and I'm like, relax. I'm good. Like this is how we do. Like I'm not offended. Like you need to just calm down. It ain't that serious. Like I'm good. So the point is, especially once you've gotten to a point of healing, you're not going to be phased by that. But what it seems like you're suggesting right now is the individuals who are most triggered by this are the individuals who may need that help the most, or some of the individuals who may actually need the help. And there, this subject was a source of contention. This subject was a source of fragility for them, and they're like, because she talks about that in a later TikTok about how people were so hurt and they didn't want to feel seen. I have noticed a lot of men saying that people should avoid black women therapists and they're terrible, yet they are whining about her disrespecting black men. Listen, it's this situation is an embarrassment. And not in the way y'all are thinking it's an embarrassment. Because this morning I'm walking, running some errands, and I'm like this shit is embarrassing. This shit is utterly embarrassing. And I'm not talking about Brie. We'll talk about what I'm talking about. Um, but we're not her clients. Um, she's just expressing herself and how she feels. Yes, she's expressing herself informally on an informal platform. Yeah, I got it. We're not her clients yet. Like people blew this up more than it should have been. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's really getting me is that people are doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down, acting as if they're heroes. Because they got this young girl fired. They got this young lady fired from her job, and they're acting like, yeah, we did something. I feel like people wanted to turn this into typical black woman versus black man nonsense as soon as they saw she was a black woman and was giving a critique. And I like that word, critique, because you got to realize there's a difference between criticism and critique. And what she did was critique, because critique is offering information and like this is what you can do to help to improve the situation. Because she wasn't just saying, "Oh, y'all is this is what's wrong with black men," and then running off a list. She was like, "This is an area that black men can improve in, and this is what y'all can do." So I saw people say, "Oh, just talking about problems, no solutions." Like her entire video is about the solution. Her entire video is about the solution. No, you're right. I'm in therapy and it took me a while to get to one that made me feel comfortable. Yes, because listen, some of you may not be able to enjoy therapy with her. So some of you may be like, okay, yeah, I don't like her affect and that's not good for me. Cool. I'm an individual that I tend to be blunt, so I appreciate blunt because life is short, and especially if there's things that need to be done, like we need, like I look at it as I need to have the humility to understand that I am not perfect. Because once I understand that I'm not perfect, okay, boom, something's wrong. Now we can talk about it, and maybe I agree with you, or maybe I don't. But that's where the conversation begins. You say, "Oh, this is wrong with you. This is what you're doing wrong. This is what's wrong with you. This is where you're falling short." And now I have the opportunity to analyze and be like, "Are you right? Huh? Okay, you may have a point. I got to check that stuff." Or I can say, "No, no, you're wrong," and I can explain how you're wrong. But guess what? You know why that doesn't apply here? Because if you're an individual that her advice didn't apply to, okay, that's it. Then there's no reason for you to get in your feelings. If you're if you are a black man who is who has a very robust emotional vocabulary, who is extremely emotionally aware, then this shouldn't have bothered you because she wasn't talking to you. Because she literally said a lot of black men, a lot. She didn't say all, but yet I've seen people say she said all. And you know what that is? That's emotions. Let me tell you why that's emotions. Because when you are listening or hearing through an emotional filter, you're not going to hear what's actually said. You're not going to hear the actual words. You're going to hear how the words make you feel. So the people that are saying she said, "Oh, all black men are emotionally," okay, you clearly were listening through your emotions. You had your emotions up. You had an emotional filter that you didn't account for, because we all have emotions. But that's why being aware of your emotions is key. Because if I know that something is a trigger for me, something that just really pisses me off, and you start talking about that subject, I have to take it into consideration. Be like, okay, hold up. I'm about to react a certain way, so let me calm myself down and actually listen to what's being said. Let me listen very carefully to the words that are being said, so that I don't have my emotions don't have me misinterpreting what's being said. Misinterpreting what's being said, omitting certain words, substituting certain words in. Like somebody said she called, I forgot what they said. They said that she called black men something else. And I'm like, no, she didn't say, like, what part did she say that? But that's because they're listening through their emotions. They haven't learned to see past their filters, haven't learned to identify the emotions, and then say, "Oh, let me put that to the side and actually just objectively listen to what's being said." Plus, mental health in our community is looked down on until it's too late. Then it's a fucking tragedy, and and that applies to me so perfectly, because what it took for me to get therapy. Yeah. Like, don't get to where I had to get for you to get therapy. Because she didn't say, oh, you're low life degenerates. No, she said, y'all are human beings. Y'all are human beings with feelings and emotions, and the world is hard. That's literally what she said. Your, people said she dehumanized black men. In a sense, in a discourse where she said, y'all are human beings with feelings and emotions, somebody said she dehumanized black men. Please make it make sense. You drinking sip juice. This is one of those emotional motherfuckers I'm talking about. This right here, Ron, you are one of the emotional motherfuckers I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't even know what the word simp means. But I'm glad you're here, Ron. I'm glad you're here because you're the kind of dudes I'm talking to. You are exactly the kind of dude that I want to talk to. Because what y'all got to realize about what happened here, about how this situation reflects upon black men. Because remember, people are upset that she's talking down on black men. She's making black men look bad. No, you know who made black men look bad? The motherfuckers that are cheering for her getting fired. The motherfuckers that called her job. Those are the motherfuckers that make black men look bad. That makes black men look weak. Weak as fuck. Think about it. A woman got on TikTok, didn't say no names, just said a lot of black men need need some therapy, need to learn how to express their emotions. And dudes started acting like little girls. I'm gonna say it again. Grown ass motherfucking men started acting like little girls. Simp, simp, stop acting like a little girl. Get out your fucking feelings and start listening. Start looking inside and realizing what it takes to be a man. Because manhood isn't getting triggered every time somebody criticizes you. That's not manhood. Manhood is being able to withstand criticism and critique, especially if it's warranted. Especially if it's warranted, there's no question. That's what a man does. A man can say, you know what? You're right. I got to check that. A man does that. A child is the one that throws a temper tantrum when somebody says something mean to them. And what happened here made the dudes that responded look like fucking little girls. They looked like little girls whining about somebody being mean to them. It's just, it's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. Like grown men throwing hissy fits because the woman on TikTok was mean to me. And you call me a simp? Look in the fucking mirror. Seriously. No, tell Ron, as long as you believe it, keep coming with it. Ron, if you believe it, I want you to keep coming with it. I want you to keep coming with it until you realize how fucking ridiculous it is. I want you to keep coming with it until you realize, oh yeah, we look like absolute bitches. Absolute bitches. A woman on TikTok said something just in general, and men, grown ass motherfucking men, acted like absolute bitches. Think about any other community looking at black men right now and think about what they're saying. They're like, these dudes are weak as fuck. These dudes, because dudes are not only was so triggered by just her general critique, but now they're running around acting like they've accomplished something. Like somebody on my comment section said, "Yeah, well, they ain't gonna be disrespecting black men no more." I said, "What? Are you for real?" Jalen Walker is still dead, 60 shots. They ain't, George Zimmerman is still living his best life. What the fuck are you talking about? You're worried about this chick because she said something mean? Black men are still getting murdered in the streets with no accountability. Cops is just doing it, just walking away. But y'all think you'll accomplish something? You can't be fucking serious. And that's why I'm talking about this, because this is so much bigger than Unusually Bree. This is about the men in the community. And some of the men have demonstrated themselves to be unfit to be called men. Some of the men in our community have just demonstrated how unfit they are to be called men. They've acted like little girls. A woman on Twitter, a woman on TikTok said something mean. Let's assume she was being insulting. Let's assume she was being condescending. Let's assume she was using her words pejoratively. Okay, so a woman on TikTok insulted black men and they just crumbled. And you think these men are fit to be called men? Like, you cannot be serious. I wouldn't have canceled her as she's a black woman, but at the end of the day, it was a black woman that canceled her. I am glad you brought that up. John Henry Irons, I am glad you brought that up. And I know this isn't you saying what I've seen other people say, but I saw other people saying, don't blame us, don't blame me, blame the black woman. So you see, because you got to see what I'm talking about with how there's a segment of these certain black men are making us look right now. So a black woman gets on TikTok, says something which is considered insulting to black men, and black men are whining and complaining about it on Twitter, and then a black woman has to step in to do something about it. Does that make it? You do get that makes it worse, right? You see how that makes it worse, right? A bunch of dudes is on Twitter, a bunch of black dudes is on Twitter complaining about this young woman who made her video on TikTok, and they run behind their skirt of their internet mama, who then completely doxes this woman and gets her fired. You get how that's worse, right? You get how that's worse. How completely and utterly powerless, ineffectual, and neutered these men look. You get how that's worse? That they felt offended and that they didn't even have the capacity to go do something about it. Oh, save us. And a black woman had to step in to save them. Now, it wasn't actually saving, but in their minds, that then the action that needed to be done wasn't even done by black men. It was done by a black woman. You get how that's worse. And so, and by the way, then they then called, once she put the information out, then because there's black men on Twitter who are bragging about calling up the job. As she mentioned in the video, because even before she got fired, there were black men on Twitter saying, "Yeah, well, yeah, this is what some phone calls do." Like, you clowns are bragging about this. You look like bitches. These clowns were actually bragging about calling this woman's job because they were offended, because their feelings were hurt. Like, your motherfuckers, stop calling yourselves men. Just stop calling yourselves men. Because there's no fucking way that these motherfuckers can be representative of black men in the community. No fucking way. Black men, black women, and black. Yes, you're right. It was a joint effort. But the fact that a black woman was the one that doxed her, I'm like, that doesn't make black men look any better. That doesn't make the black men, let's use air quotes, that were complaining about this look any better. It makes them look like they had to run to a black woman to save them from the mean TikTok woman, the mean TikTok therapist. Black men and black women got fired and canceled. It's absolutely ridiculous. The barbershop is the only therapist black men needs. Empirical evidence would suggest otherwise. Empirical evidence would suggest otherwise. If we were completely well adjusted and our community was on point, then what you're saying might be true. But the state of our community is the reason why, nah, bruh. That is not an accurate statement. We got our youngins out here just, they wildin', and you know why they wildin'? Because we're not showing them something better. I'm not blaming the youngins. If the youngins are wilding, that's on us. If the youngins are out here wilding, that's on us. They're young. This world is ridiculous. This world is crazy. This world is corrupt as hell. If they're out there wilding, it's because we're not doing our jobs. And guess where the blame falls? If the youngins are wilding, the blame falls on the adults. And specifically on the men. That's why this conversation needs to be had. Because what I'm seeing right now is nonsensical. It makes no sense. Do you know why people are criticizing? Do you know why black women have every reason to complain about black men? Because we're not getting the job done. We're not getting everything done that we need to get done. And so we have to have enough sense to say, you know what? Black women are complaining. If they're complaining about the community not being up to where it should be, okay, cool. We got to step up. We got to put in more work. Now, that's not saying that there's not outside forces trying to interfere. Of course there are. But that's our job as men to handle and counter those forces. That's the job. It was the arrogance of her in her delivery. I can see how some people see arrogance. I saw playfulness because, like, even so, Phil Scott from the African diaspora, he covered it, and he was critical of her. However, he did not co-sign getting her fired. I appreciate that. He did not co-sign her getting her fired. I've seen some people that have co-signed it that I'm like, okay. But he was not one of the ones that co-signed her getting fired. But he commented on her, like when she turns around, smacks her behind. That's her being playful. And sometimes if you want to tell somebody something serious that needs to be done, telling them in a playful manner soothes the message. So the question is, was she attempting to ease the message? Was she attempting to make the message easier to accept by being playful with her delivery? Maybe she was. Now, maybe it didn't come across that, and that's where the individual will be, how they perceive it will be more important. But we've got to go back to the point that as black men, critique is part of the job. As men, as like, if men are going to be the leaders of the community, you think that means that that we don't get criticized? Nah. If things ain't going right, criticism is coming. Critique is coming. If things ain't going right, we may not like it. In fact, if we don't like it, it's better, because then we go, okay, let me end this critique by making something happen. It's like a coach got a team. He's got some stars on it, but we halfway in the season, and he's got single digit wins, and people are complaining. Way, not even close to 500, like way under 500, and people are complaining. And imagine him getting up on the podium like, "Why is everybody complaining? Because you're losing. That's why. That's why people are complaining." And right now, as a community, we have got to face the fact, and like I said, outside forces are definitely interfering with this, but we're not winning right now. So, yes, there's going to be critiques, there's going to be criticisms, there's going to be complaints until we start fixing problems. Until we fix and turn the ship around, there's going to be critiques and criticisms. Now, if things are going great, we're winning, and then criticism is coming. Now we have the ability to go, what are you talking about? What are you? This is on point. This is on point. The community is secure. The community is thriving. The kids are good, well adjusted. They're enjoying life. We're doing everything we need to be doing. And not just everything we need to be doing, we're getting the results we need to be getting. Because as men, we don't have the option of saying, okay, a checklist. This is just the things I need to do, and that's it. No, the results are what's important. If that's what leadership is. Leadership is, we have to be concerned about the results. What are the results going to be of what we're doing? So if we're doing everything on the checklist and we're still not getting the results that we need to do more. Ron, please say you're joking. Black men, get yourself some emotional support and therapy. Black community. That's just about right. Ron, you got. I'm telling it works and much cheaper. So listen, let me tell you where sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, listen. For you, Ron, do you really think if the barbershop works for you, good. But I have a question for you, Ron. My question for you, Ron, is how many emotions are there? That's my question for you. That's my first question for you. How many emotions are there? Yo, please remember it was a black woman that got it canceled, not a black man. So remember, it was a black woman that doxed her. Black men called her job. But if you look on Twitter right now, there are high-profile black men running victory laps. They're running victory laps off of getting a young black woman fired from her job. You've got now, these black men have not managed to stop police brutality, have not managed to get secure reparations, have not managed to to improve the educational conditions for our kids. But they're running victory laps because they got a black woman fired from her job. um, Getting mad at CS. Okay, so now this is an interesting thing. Like now, here's the thing. I see Kevin Samuels and Fresh and Fit as and the late Kevin Samuels and Fresh and Fit as different individuals, different. So there were certain things about Kevin Samuels I may disagree with, but I looked at Kevin Samuels much differently than I look at Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit are clowns, particularly Fit. Fresh is he's a sidekick, but there's and at some later time I'll tell you what's somewhat in his favor. But Kevin Samuels was being blunt, and remember, like I said, I'm a person that is blunt, as you might have figured out by now, and who appreciates bluntness. So that is why I appreciated Kevin Samuels being willing to be blunt with people. Like when people were saying ridiculous stuff, like people, and he was blunt with men when he started. He blew up when he was blunt, particularly with that young lady, average at best. But sometimes people need bluntness, and like right now, I truly believe there's a lot of men out here who need bluntness. And there's a lot of black men out here that need bluntness. But because men, there's a problem with manhood right now in the society. But black men, we're catching the worst. And black men, I mean our communities, are catching the worst of it. So we're in crisis. We are in crisis right now. And this crisis needs to be addressed. And so we don't really have the luxury of sweet words and the most palatable methods of delivery. We need action yesterday. We need action yesterday to address the issues that need to be addressed. But these dudes on Twitter, okay, but when you look at somebody like Kevin Samuels, he was blunt. And this is an interesting thing because there are individuals who are celebrating this woman getting fired who also had no problem with Kevin Samuels. That makes no sense. Because you can't say that her delivery was blunt and horrible and then say, oh, well, Kevin Samuels just spoke sweet nothings to people. No, Kevin Samuels would get raw sometimes. Sometimes he would but sometimes he'd come with the fire. Sometimes he would come with the absolute fire. And sometimes it's necessary. Fresh and Fit are just clowns. Fresh and Fit are just clowns. Like, just absolute clowns. And Fit, that's another story. That's another story. I don't want to. I'm gonna like. I'll do a separate video on that because I got Fresh and Fit fans and stands in my comment section complaining about videos I do when I actually hold up their words as a mirror. John, it was both. John Henry, both black women and black men got a fire. But at the end of the day, no one should have. No one. No one. No one. People could have reached out to her and talked to her. They could have had a conversation because several of these people that are out there doing victory laps have platforms. They're doing victory laps and they have platforms. They could have platformed her or attempted to. She specifically stated an article written, and then she said that black men called her job. That's what she said. Black men called her job. And I'm telling you that even before she announced that she had gotten fired, because she announced by Friday or Saturday that she had gotten fired. On Wednesday, On Wednesday, there's tweets from men in the community bragging about calling her job. On Wednesday. On Wednesday, there are dudes on Twitter bragging about calling her job. So, so when people say, "Oh, well, how do we know men call?" Because they're bragging on Twitter about it. They were on Twitter bragging about calling her job, and they're like, "Yeah," because before she did the video where she got fired, she does a video where she's offering an apology for how people took her delivery. She says, "I stand by my encouragement for black men to get therapy, but I get that my delivery didn't come across right." She's apologizing for a delivery, and then dudes is bragging on Twitter. Yeah, now you see the different change in tone after we made some phone calls. They're bragging about this. I had to listen. This issue needs to be dealt with bluntness, because what I'm looking at is just, and there's some serious. I've seen big names bragging about this and acting like they're in the right for advocating for this woman to get fired, for calling her job, and for rallying this whole movement against her. And they're like trying to act like they're in the right. And if you continue listening to Talk Talk, she said, yes, black men were calling her job. Exactly. Both had a part. I agree. I'm not sure what part you agree with. um, the so yeah, and when you look at the article is like, wow, like, and especially if you're writing the article, you why haven't you reached out to the subject of the article? That was just that's just shoddy. Like, if you want to talk about somebody who didn't do their job right, the woman who wrote the article and didn't even reach out to the woman the article's about, that's ridiculous. Crabs in a barrel mentality. That's exactly what she called it. Total bitches. Black men have been getting shitted on for years. It was time for some pushback. She had a good message. It was just the wrong time. Listen, you know when it's time for pushback? Ron, let me tell you when it's time for pushback. When we've gotten what we need to get. When we've accomplished what we need to accomplish, then it's time to push back. Until then, that's the job. Because this is what we need to understand about leadership. And like I said, right now there's a crisis in society, but let's talk about black men specifically, because we're feeling this worse than anybody. Because the black community has already been pushed back and intentionally pushed back. So we've got ground to cover. We can't do what everybody else does and still expect everything to be all good. We get to relax. We get to push back when we've gotten what we need to get. Once we've repaired the community and gotten our kids are good, our women are good, our communities are good, our wealth is up, boom. The issues within the community are under control. We're on point, we're on code, we're working together, we're unified, we're getting stuff done, we're accomplishing, and then other people are like, wow, look at the black community. They got it popping over there. They've got their businesses, their own businesses, a thriving community. They've got their own schools. Because trust and believe, before this ends, we're gonna need our own schools. It's something we should have been taking care of, but it's something that we need to address like ASAP. Because we can't look at these youngins out there that's wilding out and stop and think, wait a minute. Maybe these schools are failing our kids, and maybe that's not an accident. Huh? Maybe it's not an accident. So when you're saying black men are getting shitted on, trying to think of a coach. Um, let's look at who was really, what was that dude's name? Used to be the coach of the Knicks. White dude with the mustache. Anyway, dude was head coach of the Knicks, and he was like, people were just giving him hell. Knicks record sucked, but and I believe we had Marbury at the time. I believe we had Marbury at the time. But he was not winning games, was not getting the job done. People constantly criticizing him. And guess what? People need to be criticizing him. You know why? Because he's the head coach. The buck stops with him. So if black men are worried about getting shitted on, worried about getting complained about and criticized and critiqued by the members of our community, guess what? The buck stops with us. We're the leaders of our community. The buck stops with us. So if there are problems in the community, guess who they reflect upon? All of the complaints about black women being out of pocket, black women ain't doing the jobs, the black women are ratchet. The buck stops with us. That's what leadership is. Leadership is, yeah, it's not just power to tell people what to do. It's power and responsibility. So when things are going great, great. We get to sit back, get the credit, and enjoy life. When things are not going right, it's going to be stressful, but we got to fix it. That's the point. Yes, black men are being critiqued. Some of these critiques are legitimate. Some of these critiques are misplaced and are, fabrications because somebody else is really trying to project their stuff. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. Some of these criticisms are just flat out fantasies. That's true as well. There's people outside of the community who just make stuff up. Fuck them. They don't matter. But specifically within the community, when people within our community are complaining, black men have to be listening because the buck stops with us. Welcome, Jay. Welcome to the stream. I saw Angry Bird celebrating like his dusty ass won something. And like, it makes no sense. Like, dudes don't realize how neutered, how weak they look right now. Like, these dudes don't realize. Dudes look like bitches right now. Absolute bitches. Dudes look like absolute bitches right now because they got hurt by words. By words. They got triggered by words. Dudes got triggered by words and couldn't handle it. Meanwhile, these white supremacists are gripping up. They teaching their kids to shoot. Their boys are learning to shoot, kill animals, skin animals, prepare animals from 8 years old. But we got grown men crying over words on TikTok. You know it's a problem, right? And it's not Bree. Bree ain't the problem. Angry man looks like a Don't worry about education improvement. Any day now. Any day now. Echo, I'm gonna send you an interview from the Hill. Once you watch this, you're gonna flip, especially when the white dudes. I saw. Okay, it's not the same one that you're talking about, but I saw something, and I'm gonna do. I've been sitting on it. I've been wanting to do. I haven't wanted to do a stream on it. I know I need to do a stream on it, but I saw something the other day, last week, and like it shamed me to my fucking core. Shamed me to my core. Cause Nick Fuentes, and if you don't know Nick Fuentes, he's a white supremacist. Yes, with the last name Fuentes. Um, who he was talking about. He's talking his rhetoric, and there's two black dudes and a mixed dude um, that were just like sitting there looking ridiculous. And then Destiny had to come on. Destiny, a white dude, had to come to their rescue and save them. And I was like, this is embarrassing. This is fucking embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing. But please, yeah, I want to see this just thing on the Hill because that's going to depress me some more. That's going to depress me some more. Ashley Babbitt Pack, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I agree her message may have come off condescending, but she shouldn't have been fired over it. Those people that got her fired should be ashamed. Thank you for the super chat and thank you for the message because I agree with you. That was not that was not the right way to handle it in any shape, form, or of imagination. That was not the proper way to handle it. And thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. You should pull up the article and review it. Okay, yeah, yeah. See, like the whole thing is, even though she's no longer at the company, because like I actually went to the website, they got her name. Like I don't know if they ever had. I'm assuming they did have her name on the website because like they have all of their therapists listed on the website. Like they got her name off quick, quick. I'm like, damn. Young black men living in the hood may need therapy, but middle class and upper class not so much. So those of us in the hood, yes, we need therapy because we've got a specific set of situations and circumstances that we've got to deal with. Like cats I did time with. For instance, one brother, and I want to shout this brother out. I mean, I know he can't hear me because, and I'm so pissed about, but like this issue, I'm gonna be doing something about it. I'm gonna try to bring him home because it's ridiculous. So we were in together. Um, he got out, got violated on a probation, went in. Then I got out. Then he got out like maybe a few months later. But now he got back. He got sent back in um, on a weapons possession charge, gun possession. They gave him 25 fucking years. I'm pissed off about. I'm just so pissed off about that. But this brother and I, like we've been through so much while we were inside, and there were times when him being there, he pulled me back from the ledge. Like I'm about to just wild out and do some. I'm about to wild out and do something crazy, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa!" Like especially like as I was approaching my out date, um, like there's this thing that happens when you're close to the door, where like everything pisses you off, and several times he had to like just basically pull me back from the ledge. Like, dude, don't worry about what's going on in here. In 3 weeks' time, you're gone. Don't worry about this. This doesn't matter. Go home. But he would talk to me, and the funny thing is, like, this dude is not by no means of imagination is this cat the level headed considered the level headed one. But we've been through therapy. We've been through group therapy inside, and one of the things that he benefited from was that emotional dialectical behavioral therapy of the emotional mind and the wise mind, and so how your emotions they in generally speaking, if you're not aware of them, your emotions will override your intellect. So you get mad, like your intellect will say, yeah, don't punch this person in the face. Your emotions will override your intellect. You'll punch this person in the face, wind up getting the whole world in trouble. But there's several times, like he would constantly talk about how he would get himself under control by allowing his emotions, by being aware of his emotions and not allowing his emotions to override his intellect. And so he would like even had this chart. He'd have he looks at it like on a daily basis where he has that pyramid of intellect over emotions, not letting the emotions override the intellect. But I think middle class and upper class black men also need therapy. Why? Okay, it's not right here. Because they live in America. We live in a country that has spent hundreds of years waging war against black people. That in itself, and not just, and waging war on several levels, including intellectually, um, in terms of media representation and image, and they've pushed certain ideas and certain messages about who we are. So I believe every black person in America can benefit from therapy. And if you want to check out a book, I have it linked in the description. And I'm an Amazon affiliate, so if you choose to buy it at no extra cost to you, I get commission. But in the if you want to, I think I have that book listed there. It's called. No, I don't have it listed. I'm going to put it in the description because I have two books listed in there. The book I need to have listed there is Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Joy DeGroy. Um, and she talks about how just the experiences of black people in this country in itself is a trauma that has been passed on, and it's manifested itself in a myriad of ways. So I don't like, regardless of what class we're in terms of um, you know well, tax bracket or whatever, we still are dealing with how blackness is perceived and treated in this society. So like I think even, and so I think even upper class and middle class black men can definitely benefit from therapy. How do you determine who should and shouldn't get therapy? Social class. Um, it was Phil something. But yeah, so you think someone like LeBron James or Jay Z? Absolutely. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like LeBron James and Jay Z are in therapy. They may not talk about it publicly, but there are black men who do talk about therapy, who do talk about it publicly. But like Jay, of course, I absolutely believe Jay needs therapy. Jay from Marcy Projects. Jay, Jay used to run these streets. Hell yeah. LeBron, LeBron grew up with a single mother, and his father just was gone. You don't think LeBron needs therapy to process not growing up with having his father there? Hell yeah, he needs therapy. And I believe that therapy, if he needs it or has gotten it, may, because like if you look at LeBron, LeBron is light years better than his father ever was. LeBron has his kids, takes care of his kids, does right by his kids. LeBron is the father. His father never was. But like, see, that's the thing. People keep looking at therapy as, uh, question. Do what black men need exercise? That's my question for you, Ron. What black men need exercise? Do only poor black men need exercise? So anyone in higher social class is always mentally stable. Yeah, that's and what we're dealing with is once again that stigma about therapy. Money doesn't make you mentally stable. No, it eases the pain a lot. Don't say it doesn't. Money comes with its own set of problems, its own set of stressors. Yes, I'm talking about that. Oh, that was disgusting. I was mortified. I was like, oh, what the. I watched these three black dudes, well, these two black dudes and a mixed dude, and Sneeko was actually trying to cape for Nick Fuentes, but Abba and Jadian was like just like, dudes, do you hear what he's saying? He just said black people have low IQs. Abba Jadian Sneeko, yeah, yeah, yeah. You saw it too. The way I see Angry Bird celebrating this woman losing a job is the way I side eye chaotic truth talking about we need to have STEM jobs, but he a teacher. And he does like that's another thing. There are people that actually actively insult and demean black people. And like so instance, like yeah, that's funny because Tariq Nasheed is celebrating this woman losing her job, but Chaotic Truth did a whole live stream talking shit about Tariq Nasheed and and black Americans and like none of that smoke. He doesn't have nearly that amount of smoke for Chaotic Truth. Like, please make it make sense. That's a great like yeah. Um, happiness, sadness, fear, anger. Okay, so there are there's a school of thought that says there are six emotions. There's a school of thought that says there's eight emotions, and then there's even another school of thought that says there are 27 basic emotions, and then there's associated emotions from that because you have happiness, sadness, fear, anger, guilt, shame, like, and the and to tell you my personal experience, when my therapist told me that she wanted me to start writing a journal and to write what I'm feeling, I just like unusually Bree said, I didn't have the words. I couldn't even I'm like, what emotions are there? Because I didn't talk about my emotions. I didn't think about my emotions. So at this point, I'm like, if I don't talk about my emotions, I don't think about my emotions. What good are they? How would I have the words if I've never reflected on my emotions? So there's a very and I guess as somebody who's already been through that and seen how beneficial it can be, because whew, increasing your own emotional awareness has many benefits internally and interpersonally. So Amazing Lucas was talking about it, and he was talking about some of the interpersonal benefits because if you're emotionally aware, like it starts putting you on a much higher level and a better level um, in dealing with the fairer sex. It makes sense. If you're famous, you would have to deal with the constant bashing from people you don't know. Absolutely. um, it did not look good. It did not look good. Like they definitely did not represent as they needed to. Um, and it speaks to this, and because this is a side tangent, their behavior speaks to this desire to um, get past the past. Oh yeah, let's put the racial stuff behind us. We don't want to talk about it because there's a bunch of black people that think that's possible or even beneficial, and they don't realize that people like Nick Fuentes exist in very significant numbers. But Nick Fuentes isn't wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood, so they won't automatically assume he's a racist. So they say, oh well, he's a regular dude, and his last name is Fuentes. Okay, but that's a lack of situational awareness and historical awareness. Because if we've been paying attention to how the story goes, we see how these movements have morphed and adapted and grown into all these different areas. In Abbott's defense, he was just a moderator and wasn't part of the debate. And Sneeko is on his red pill story arc. Okay, okay. Um, yeah, Sneeko was actually like trying to stick up for him, and yeah, I'm gonna be talking about that stuff very shortly. Who's Sneeko and where can I watch this debate? I think it's on Destiny's channel. Yeah, I saw it on Destiny's channel because Destiny is watching it happen, and then he goes, "Okay." And Destiny's the white dude. Destiny types in, I guess, shoots a email or text to Sneeko, and Sneeko pulls him into the stream, and then he starts putting in some work on Nick Fuentes. But I mean, the point is, I get I get how being criticized doesn't feel good. Of course, once again, that's part of that emotional awareness, being able to say, "Oh man, like I feel like people just keep shitting on us." But being aware of that, being able to identify the emotion and say, "Okay, so why are they shitting on us?" So black women are complaining. Okay, black women are saying black men ain't doing the job. Now look around the community. You got youngins just out here just acting a fool. And I'm like, you know what? I see what they're saying. We got to step up and handle this shit. We got to step up and handle this shit because, yes, there are some critiques are legitimate. We got to get these youngins under control. And maybe, and that's just part of it. And that's just part of it so that we can address the things that need to be fixed within our community. And if as leaders of the community, if the community is happy, guess what the community won't be doing? Generally speaking, if the community is happy, healthy, well fed, guess what the community won't be doing? They won't be complaining. I'm not the biggest Destiny fan. He's definitely said, "Oh yeah, absolutely." Okay, yeah, I don't even know about the N word, but yeah. So like how I talked about him on Fresh and Fit, and like he was like co-signing some of that crime thing, and I was like, yeah, that's bull. But yeah, let's forget about your past history, but we need to remember minds and only mine. Exactly, exactly, exactly. But my point is, like, I'm looking at these dudes that were on Twitter celebrating, and it made no sense. It makes no sense because, like, right now, Bishop, what's his name? He's up here going off on. I'm like, dude, as greasy as you talk, like, please stop the nonsense. Stop with this. Like, yeah, you're a pastor and all, a bishop or whatever, but you talk real greasy to people. Like, so please stop the nonsense about of this. Oh, yeah, she's got to watch her tone. She deserved to be fired. Like, how about putting some of that energy into our actual enemies? Because the black community has a lot of actual enemies, but it looks like there's a crop of so-called black men, of black so-called men who are who are shook to take on actual enemies, and so they got to do a victory lap of getting some young lady fired from her job. That makes them be able to go to sleep, say, "Oh, I did something." But they won't bust a grape when we're dealing with our actual enemies, with the people who are actual threats to our community. Tariq will bring the smoke. Okay. I mean, he did he put a tweet out there about dude, but like there seems to be more energy going against Bree than against Chaotic Truth, who says some absolutely ridiculous stuff. And I was in a Black Lives chat room earlier, and I was telling them about a thing that I think Black people should stand up for. So the scenario is over here where I live at, about 10 minutes away is a thriving Black community. Unfortunately, about 7 years ago, they put a Section 8 housing almost in, wow. They're good with that. And that made me cringe. That made crime go up about next. That made crime go up, and next, police always over there in the area. So my argument was that Black people shouldn't allow Section 8 housing in the community. Okay, but making sure we control our communities and not just having these outside interests just do whatever they want. Um, I'm trying to find. Okay, go home. Um, Bishop. Bishop. What is his name? I'm looking for his name. Bishop Talbot Swan. Bishop Talbot Swan. Yeah. In fact, so let me read. So he said this. He says it's wild that we have Black women out here justifying Black female therapists disparaging, disrespecting, and denigrating Black men, yet have the audacity to tell Black men to seek therapy from the same people who think they ain't shit. But okay, so he's talking about in response to somebody who said that's what her therapist said. He's not saying Bree said this, because I never heard Bree say that, and I don't even think he's claiming that Bree said that. Okay, so he says now this is directly about Bree. He says if your Black therapist goes on the internet and calls her clients hoes, dusty bitches, sad motherfuckers, and other vile pejoratives while speaking condescendingly of their lack of maturity and emotional intelligence, she should get fired too. She did this to herself. And see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about, where now son people acting like they don't know the difference between colloquially and pejoratively, between slang and slurs. Like you don't know the difference. Like she's just speaking in AAVE. She's just informally, like that's it. But she's not like, because even she refers to herself as a bitch. So when she's talking about bitches, she's just using the term generally, not with a negative connotation. And that okay, yeah, did this. Yeah, he said once that he sympathized with Black men getting racially profiled because they commit the most crime and vouch. Yes, I think I remember that. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. Right now in my area, crime is through the roof. No one cares, and cops harass everyone, innocent or not. Yeah, I mean it's going crazy. It's going ridiculous here in New York too. And yeah, Kenny. Um, yeah, you got. But as I said, you got these. I know what this is about, and it's like we got to address the underlying causes, because there's a lot of bullshit being done at governmental levels to create chaos. Like, this isn't accidental, but we still have the ability to do something about it. I'm not saying black men commit the most crime. I'm quoting with it. Oh yeah, no, I got you, loner. I got you, loner. But yeah, so I'm looking like but that's why I wanted to come out here, and I'm gonna be talking more about manhood, what manhood actually is, because you've got the manosphere who spends, so a bunch of people in the manosphere, spend 90% of their time, if not between 90 and 100% of their time, complaining about black women. And I'm like, listen, if you're a man and you're saying that the women in your community are the problem, what you're saying is you're the problem. Because what you're saying is, as a leader, you fail as a leader. You suck as a leader. Your leadership abilities are non-existent, and you have no control over your community. That's what you're saying. So every time these dudes in the manosphere are talking that black women are out of pocket, they're telling on themselves. They're telling on themselves about their ineffectual, about how ineffectual they are as leaders, and as leaders of the community, and as men. That's what, because the buck stops here. The men are the leaders of the community. The buck stops with us. We are the ones. If the community is failing, we are failing. There's no, oh, well, I'm a good leader, but the community just sucks. No. If the community sucks, we suck. We suck as leaders. There's no pushing the buck. But she made me do it, like Adam. Like, I put you in charge. I put you in charge. Don't point to her. I put you in charge. But she made me do it. So I see what the manosphere seems to be sorely missing is actual men. And like, yeah, like, it's time to address that. It's time to address actual men who realize that leadership just isn't about telling people what to do and getting to be in charge and kick your feet up and have somebody feed you grapes. No, leadership is about putting in the work. Yeah, you got to delegate roles, but you're also ultimately responsible for the rise or fall. The buck stops here. That's what leadership is. That's what manhood is. Perfect example. Mainstream media paints a black woman that was killed this past weekend in Brooklyn as a domestic violence survivor and ignore the fact that she was a violent crackhead. I haven't heard that story. Everyone talking about how, look at what these black men did to her, and I'm reading the stuff like, where were you guys when she was attacking people? Okay, I definitely got to check out that story. Or it's her mental health and the ex-boyfriend was just violent. But yeah, because like right now the celebrations are continuing. Had to make this video to unleash, to unload, because the the dudes that are complaining about criticism and disrespect aren't acknowledging that, okay, guess what? That's the job. That's the job. If you want to be the leader of the community, the leaders of the community bear the responsibility for the state of the community. And if dudes want to run from leadership, then they have no, then they can't complain about modern women. Because if they're not willing to be the men that the community leads, they have no say in complaining about modern women because somebody's got to step up. And dudes have to step up and accept leadership and learn how to carry out leadership properly and effectively. It's not fun and games. It's hard work. That's the job. I want to thank everybody who came out to the stream. Um, don't forget to hit that like button. I want to thank Ashley Babbitt Pack for the super chat. Appreciate it. Um, I also want to give a shout out and thanks to Battle Cat, this Battle Cat, because I haven't had a chance to. He super chatted me off before I was on the stream. So I definitely want to give him a shout out and thank you for that for the Cash App. Thank you for the Cash App off stream. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support y'all give. And like I said, I'm gonna be addressing I see there's a need that needs to be addressed, and that's where I'm going with now because what I saw over this past week was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, unacceptable. And no, I'm not talking about what Bree did. I'm talking about what the dudes that are calling themselves men did and are celebrating about. That is unacceptable. That is not manhood. So thanks again, everyone, for coming out to the stream. Thanks for checking out. And I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your days, the rest of your evenings. Have a good one.